Hey guys, what's up? Here's Max. Today we're going to talk about one more chapter of Dragon Ball Hakai, the 13th chapter of this story, which was recently completed. In addition, we will also answer some comments from you, including some criticisms, such as a criticism about the bad script of Dragon Ball Hakai. And the reason for this criticism? Well, apparently Vegeta breathed into space a few chapters ago. Did this really happen? Well, let's find out soon. And of course, it doesn't hurt to remember that you can read all the chapters of Dragon Ball Hakai on our website, dbhakai.com. That's where all Dragon Ball Hakai chapters are published first. And the chapter I'm going to tell you in this video is also available there. But there you will not only find Dragon Ball Hakai chapters, but also many other Dragon Ball content, such as official guides, articles with trivia and information about the series, and much more. Go check it out later. I also wanted to ask you to leave your like in this video because it helps a lot in the reach of this video here on the platform and therefore helps Dragon Ball Hakai to continue. And also share this video with your friends who are Dragon Ball fans because then this story will be better known and it also helps us to continue with this work. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe because you will always receive our content. But okay, the message is already given. Now let's go to chapter 13 of Dragon Ball Hakai and then the comment response. Stay connected in the channel and let's go to the video.
Hakai.
Dragon Ball Hakai, Chapter 13, Goku arrives at his destination. Universe 7, Planet Quinn. After receiving a hard blow that threw him violently against the central planet, Vegeta stands up with his hand resting on his aching body, complaining about the fact that his enemy has increased his power level absurdly. He never ceases to amaze him. The one Vegeta refers to appear, already flying over the region where he landed, preparing a great energy attack, says that he concentrated from his middle and index finger. "Take this," shouts Cooler as he hurls the giant energy blow towards Vegeta, who can only cross his arms in front of his body in self-defense, as he sees the powerful attack approaching. The power of Cooler's attack is so great that the energy blast passes through the ground at one end of the planet, and travels through the center of the large celestial body to the other end. The next moment, while flying over the explosion site, which is now a large crater, Cooler yells for his opponent, claiming to know that the attack was not enough to kill him. While showing himself again even more injured than he was a few seconds ago, Vegeta yells at his enemy asking why he didn't rebel against Frieza if he had so much power. Vegeta flies towards Cooler, who is waiting for him standing in the same position. When the Prince of the Saiyans arrives to attack the Golden Monster, he stops his movement with his arm, and during this movement Cooler gives his answer. Cooler says, "Because it would be too inconvenient." And then, while giving Vegeta a good beating, the Golden Prince begins to explain. "After I started training with Frieza, I realized that the potential of my powers to evolve is absolutely gigantic, even greater than his. As far as I know, he was also able to greatly increase his powers in a short time, and he was able to do this even though he had a much lower natural power than mine and training alone. In my case, in addition to having greater natural power, I still had the privilege of having a training partner, which only accelerated things. In just a few weeks of training, I acquired the golden form, which according to Frieza, he took months to achieve. I didn't show him that I acquired this transformation, but I was sure he noticed it somehow, since at first I couldn't hide my power very well. However, after a while of training, I went even further, and I felt that I could use the golden form, not only in my base form, but also using my final transformation, which is this stage you are seeing now. I didn't want to use this transformation because it's still a very uncertain power for me, as I couldn't transform to train like that, because Frieza would notice. My intention was to evolve as much as possible with his help, and when I thought he was useless, I would kill him. Unfortunately, my plan went awry because of you, and now Frieza probably knows everything. I would like to see his face right now." As this conversation takes place on the planet Quinn, Frieza's spaceship floats through space as someone inside the spaceship shouts. Kikono says, "I don't care about the size of the hole or the difficulties, just fix it." The one who was screaming was Kikono, probably some Frieza army employee who was fixing the hole in the ship made by Pikkon a short time ago. As this happens, in the same room was Frieza, looking at the ship's window, reflective, surely sensing his older brother's power. Frieza curses him, commenting worried that he's managed to get to this point. As he continues to beat Vegeta, Cooler says that now Frieza knows the truth. He needs to eliminate Vegeta quickly and then eliminate his own brother. But he's surprised when one of his punches is parried by the Saiyan. And after doing that, Vegeta suggests to his opponent not to start getting excited. He hasn't reached the full potential of this transformation yet. It looks like victory is still a little further away than Cooler thinks. Universe 6, Planet Chameleon. Kiboru flies to the entrance of one of the many tunnels that make up the labyrinth inside the volcano at the center of the planet. The labyrinth that leads to the cocoon of the primordial beast guarded in Universe 6, Hiru. Supreme Kai's assistant is accompanied by Supreme Kai herself and by Goku, who is already impatient, emphasizing that they already passed through hundreds of tunnels and asking if they still have a long way to go before they reach their destination. Much to Goku's satisfaction, Kiboru reveals that there is now only one straight path left, and looking at the tunnel ahead of him, the Elder God reveals that Hiru's cocoon is at the end of that corridor. In a great hurry for some mysterious reason, Goku asks them to leave at once. Kiboru agrees. After that, in his thoughts, Goku wonders what horrible feeling he is having. It seems that the God of Destruction is sensing great danger. Kiboru moves on, followed by Goku and Lei. Vegeta and Cooler fly towards each other for a powerful collision, and so they do, clashing their fists with great violence. The clash of these two monstrous forces unleashes great power and causes an impact wave that destroys a vast area of the ground beneath them. Cooler punches Vegeta in the face, but Vegeta punches him back in the chin. They pull away and stare at each other for a moment. Then, the next second, Vegeta flies back to his most violent foe. But the Saiyan's advance is delayed when Cooler fires an energy laser from his finger that opens a shallow cut on Vegeta's cheek, who had to slow his advance to dodge this latest attack. But the attack is only to make the Saiyan hesitate, for Cooler to approach in the next second with a strong top-down blow that sends Vegeta to the ground. In order not to shock his body with the stones, Vegeta makes some acrobatic movements in the air that slows down his fall, allowing him to land on his feet. But Cooler doesn't intend to let Vegeta rest, and is already preparing his next move, by crossing his arms while accumulating his energy in his fingertips. Cooler fires his attack, or rather his multiple attacks. Such attacks whose arrival, Vegeta watches silently with an expression of concentration and irritation. The multiple lasers fall from the sky. Vegeta waits for the attacks to arrive as he prepares to attack. He dodges the first laser by moving his shoulder to the side. In the next moment, he has to dodge the many other attacks that fall like a rain of death, destroying the rocks around him, also the ground, creating multiple explosions. Vegeta jumps from rock to rock, making acrobatic movements to dodge the attacks, until in a moment, he points his hand at a set of rocks that falls from the collapsing rocks. Cooler stops attacking for a moment, noticing something coming, and what was coming was a group of stones thrown by Vegeta, such as the demon destroys with his attacks before he gets hit. But that was just a distraction caused by Vegeta, who was approaching from behind Cooler to attempt an attack. But Cooler was quick to notice Vegeta's presence at his back, and even quicker to react to it by firing an attack to ward off the enemy. But despite being engulfed by the wave of energy, Vegeta decides to keep moving forward, and so he does, flying towards Cooler, forcing his approach against the attack that pushes him. As he approaches, he also prepares an attack. Despite the difficulties, Vegeta manages to get close enough, touching his hands to Cooler's chest for the next moment to cause him to be engulfed by a powerful point-blank energy attack. Cooler is thrown violently against a rock, leaving his body partially buried in the rocks. Vegeta creates in his hand what appears to be an energy ring, and 5 of those rings fly towards Cooler. As soon as his enemy is trapped by his energy rings, Vegeta flies towards him to attack. But Cooler doesn't intend to let his opponent get any closer. He reacts by shooting energy lasers from his eyes that need to be immediately blocked by Vegeta, which is moved while defending against the technique. When the attack is finally stopped, we can see the damage it did to the gloves and also to Vegeta's hands. After getting the time and space he wanted, Cooler starts to concentrate power and releases energy in a powerful aura that destroys the stones around him, consequently freeing him from the rings as well. Freed again, Cooler flies towards Vegeta, who gets rid of his ruined gloves, and then also flies towards the enemy. Apparently, none of those princes intend to be defeated so easily. Kiboru gives the warning that everyone has been so eager to hear. They are coming to Hiro. Goku behind him emphasizes in his thoughts the fact that the bad feelings he feels only increases. Finally, they arrive at the long-awaited location, a cave that in the center has kept the cocoon of the primordial beast. Happy that everything worked out, Kiboru prepares to act, saying that now all they need to do is remove the cocoon from that place calmly. But when Liai's assistant was about to move, Goku stops him with an arm gesture while asking him to wait, which makes Supreme Kai herself ask what is happening to him. With a serious expression, Goku warns that if any of them approach the cocoon, they will be killed in an instant. Obviously, this statement leaves Kiboru and Liai very scared. They don't understand the reason for those words from Goku, but this lack of understanding is short-lived, as in the next moment, a person starts floating down from the top of the cave towards the cocoon while congratulating the god of destruction for noticing his presence. While the revelation of the enemy, judging by his attire, is becoming clear that he is one of the 5 great celestial mages. Not that the others there know this, as none of them have seen a celestial mage before. Goku justifies his perception of his enemy by saying that for some reason he felt an indescribable danger as he approached that place, as if his life were at risk. Great risk, for that matter of fact. And since this creature, the primordial beast, is trapped, he figured this bloodlust didn't come from it. Goku finally concluded that this could only be coming from him, and asks who he is. The celestial mage introduces himself. He is Odisu, the great mage of the elements. Also, he is the leader of the 5 great celestial mages. Goku repeats the last information with great concern and look full of seriousness, surely understanding that this enemy that has just appeared is certainly not just anyone. Goku has finally arrived at his destination and is about to get his hands on the primordial beast cocoon. But unfortunately, an unexpected enemy has appeared, and he is Odisu, the leader of the celestial mages. But Vegeta also has a powerful opponent before him, and the fight between him and Cooler continues with great intensity. Which of the two will be the victor in the intense fight? Find out in the next chapters of Dragon Ball Hakai. This was Chapter 13 of Dragon Ball Hakai, guys, a chapter that brought us a more direct combat between Vegeta Ultra Ego and Ultimate Golden Cooler. Both combatants in their most powerful forms at the moment. We had some references to Dragon Ball Z in this fight, like the technique of touching the opponent and releasing a wave of energy, which Vegeta used against Cooler in this chapter, and also used against Pui Pui, the minion of Babidi. And he also used his energy rings, which he used in his classic fight against Goku. Who doesn't remember those scenes? And of course, we also had Goku's arrival at his destination, and now he has encountered an enemy who is possibly the most powerful among the celestial mages. He is their boss after all. Well, what did you think of this chapter? Leave it in the comments. Your feedback will help us a lot to improve. But okay, now that time has come to answer your comments, all your criticisms and doubts about Dragon Ball Hakai. But before I start answering your questions and criticisms, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the positive comments you give Dragon Ball Hakai and our channel in general. Seriously guys, it's very satisfying to see all the motivation you guys give us to keep doing this work. I really appreciate all of you who are always honoring our work. But of course, I would also like to thank those who criticize, especially those who give polite and constructive criticism, because you help us to improve more and more. Well, now let's talk about your doubts and criticisms. I want to talk to you about a subject that many of you have questions or criticisms, and in the last few videos, many people have commented on this. The subject is Vegeta versus Cooler. In the last video, we received a lot of comments about this fight. The comments were as diverse as possible. A lot of people are praising the fight, and I thank everyone who made it. But there are also a lot of people who have some criticisms or doubts about this fight. There are people who made some criticisms about specific points, such as Vegeta supposedly breathing in space during this fight, which I'll answer soon. But there are comments that are just doubts, such as how Cooler's power level is so high in Dragon Ball Hakai. On this issue of Cooler's power, there was a lot of criticism too, and not just doubts. A lot of people think it is just absurd Cooler to be even able to touch Vegeta in Super Saiyan Blue. Well, today I want to talk to you about absolutely everything that involves this combat, and I think that after everything I'm going to say here, you'll see that this whole subject involving this combat is consistent with the entire Dragon Ball franchise, and more specifically with Dragon Ball Super. For this matter to be as clear as possible, I will first talk to you about the Cooler from Dragon Ball Z, okay? The original Cooler. And after that, I will talk a little about the Cooler from Dragon Ball Hakai. The logic that was followed to build his evolution in the story. The comparison between him and Frieza, and I will also explain the steps of his evolution during this fight against Vegeta. So right now we're going to have a real class about Cooler in this video. But before that, know that part of the information that will be given to you now can be found on our website, dbhakai.com. there is a complete article about Cooler's power in the 5th Dragon Ball Z movie, and also an article about Metal Cooler's power in the 6th film. That is, there's a lot of information about his character there, so if you want to know more, pay us a visit there later. So, Cooler appeared in the 5th Dragon Ball Z movie, and in the movie it is made clear that he was stronger than Frieza, but unfortunately it was not specified how much stronger than his brother he was. V-Jump magazine put Cooler's fighting power at 470 million, meaning, according to this source, he had in the 5th movie more than 3 times the fighting power of Frieza on Namek. But this source is unreliable, as it was an advertisement for Dragon Ball game, and this source has been proven wrong in other cases. And if you want to know why this V-Jump source is unreliable, check out the full article talking about it on the site. In summary, unfortunately, we cannot know the exact power of Cooler in Dragon Ball Z, but we do know that he was stronger than Frieza, possibly having triple the power of his younger brother. But that's not certain. He could be more stronger or weaker than that. Anyway, the fact is that Cooler faced a much stronger Goku than the Goku that Frieza faced in Namek. We know this because the 5th Dragon Ball Z movie takes place in an alternative timeline that is somewhere between the Z Warriors' 3 years of training for the arrival of the androids. Do you remember that after Trunks came from the future, he gave the Z Warriors 3 years to train for the arrival of the androids? It was in this time skip that Cooler's movie took place. Well, you must also remember that happened before Trunks left, right? Frieza arrived on Earth with his father, King Cold, and they were both massacred by Trunks. At that moment, Trunks completely destroyed Frieza, subduing the Emperor with no chance of victory. Frieza couldn't even dream of defeating Trunks at that moment, and Cold was the same. And remembering that Mecha Frieza who arrived on Earth was more powerful than the Namek Frieza, as apparently the technological additions to the villain's body strengthened him. The information that Frieza was stronger when he arrived on Earth is given by himself in chapter 330 of the Dragon Ball manga. But anyway, a short time later, the same Trunks that massacred Frieza and Cold had his sword stopped by a single finger of Goku. The same sword that slashed Frieza and Cold didn't even scratch Goku's finger. And that's because during the time he was in Yagrat, Goku trained a lot and became much more powerful. So on Namek, despite being reasonably more powerful than Frieza, Goku still had to be some careful dealing with him, because the power difference wasn't that huge. But when he returned to Earth at the beginning of the Androids arc, the situation was completely different. And certainly the Namek Frieza couldn't even scratch Goku. In Cooler's movie, Goku was probably even more powerful than when he met Trunks, as he possibly had a training time between Trunks' departure and events of that movie. We can't say this for sure because as far as I know, it's not specified exactly as how long after Trunks' departure this movie takes place, which means that Goku could have trained a month or 2.5 years between one time or another. There's no way to know. But unless this movie took place just a few days after Trunks' departure, we can conclude that Goku had already trained for some time and managed to increase his power at least a little. In summary, we can conclude when Goku faced Cooler, he was much more powerful than when he faced Frieza. And considering his scene with Trunks, I think we can safely say that Goku was at least twice as powerful. But I believe it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that at that moment, he could be even 10 times more powerful than when he faced Frieza. In the 5th movie, Goku faced Cooler twice. The first time it was a very quick confrontation where we couldn't tell who was stronger, since they didn't actually fight. Goku just used his body to protect Gohan from a Cooler's attack. But with this scene, we know that Cooler was powerful enough to seriously injure Goku with an attack, as Goku jumped in front of Gohan to defeat him and was seriously injured to the point of not even being able to move. Gohan needed to go to Master Korin's tower to get a Senzu Bean for Goku to recover. After Goku recovered, he finally had a real fight with Cooler, and in that fight, he proved himself superior to the villain in base form. That is, when Goku faced Cooler in base form, he was reasonably superior. Cooler was able to stand up to Goku and give him some trouble, but Goku was clearly stronger. But something that maybe we should consider is that there is a possibility that Goku had a Zenkai after eating the Senzu Bean, since he was very injured. This means that maybe base Goku was only able to surpass base Cooler because of a Zenkai. But this is speculation. Anyway, base Goku surpasses base Cooler, but the protagonist was completely overwhelmed when the villain uses his final form, and had to use the Super Saiyan. And using the Super Saiyan, he proved himself to be far superior to Cooler in his ultimate form. One of the most accepted theories about Cooler's power is that he might be as strong as Super Saiyan Goku was in Namek arc, so he would be considerably more powerful than Frieza, but it wouldn't be much of a huge difference. But since Goku, in the 5th movie, was much more powerful than he was at the end of the Namek arc, they could have a big advantage against Cooler. Anyway, there's only one thing that's certain about this whole situation. Cooler was considerably more powerful than Frieza when he first appeared in Dragon Ball Z. Now, leaving Dragon Ball Z aside, let's talk about Dragon Ball Hakai, about the difference between Cooler and Frieza's power in Dragon Ball Hakai. We know from Chapter 4 of the story that in the past, Cooler was greatly feared by Cold and Frieza, and the reason for this is that he was much stronger than his father and brother. And this was reaffirmed to Chapter 12. The difference in power between Cooler and the other two was so great that Cold and Frieza had to fight together to deal with Cooler and set a trap for him. And pay attention that Frieza and Cold not only fought together against Cooler, it is said that they set a trap for him, which could mean that it was not enough for them to unite their powers. It was also necessary to cheat in the fight. Remembering that King Cold, despite being demonstrably weaker than Frieza, is not too much weaker than him. We know this because after losing to Goku, Frieza called his father to go to Earth and help him get revenge. And if Cold was much weaker than Frieza, he wouldn't even bother to call his father, because he wouldn't make a difference in the fight, right? About Cold's power level, on our website there are 2 special articles about him, talking about his total power and whether he had more transformations or not. If you want to know more about it, check it out later. Anyway, we know that Cooler in Dragon Ball Hakai's past was powerful enough to be able to fight with Frieza and Cold together. And if we deduce that Cold's fighting power was not that much lower than Frieza's power, we can deduce that Cooler had at least something close to twice Frieza's power, which is a big difference. In short, Cooler in Dragon Ball Hakai was at least twice as powerful as Frieza in the past. Cooler had twice the natural power of his brother, we can conclude that he also had a greater ability to evolve, right? And if we assume that the evolution capacity is proportional to the difference in natural power, we will come to the conclusion that Cooler has at least twice the evolution capacity of Frieza, but it could be even more. Well, I don't even need to mention Frieza's absurd level of evolution in Dragon Ball Super, right? In a few months of training, he went from a level where he could be defeated by a Kaioshin with a single attack to someone who could rival the Super Saiyan Blue. Frieza's ability to evolve is completely absurd. And if we conclude that Cooler already had a much greater natural power than Frieza, and also had a greater ability to evolve, it is not at all absurd to think that he could reach a power level considerably greater than his brother in less time. But in addition to being naturally more powerful than Frieza, and having a greater ability to evolve, Cooler had another benefit that his brother didn't, a training power. Guys, think with me, when Frieza was revived in Dragon Ball Super, he admitted to never training in his life. So when he started training, Frieza had no idea what he was doing. He didn't know how to train. He didn't know training methods. He didn't know how to work into his own potential or anything like that. Frieza basically had to learn how to train. He had to learn how to develop his own powers. And he also had to do it alone, as he had no one like him who could help him. But not Cooler. He had Frieza to help him. Someone who belongs to the same race, who knows their nature and knows how to develop their powers. So what Frieza had to struggle to learn, Cooler already had someone to teach. While Frieza had to learn everything from scratch and find a way, Cooler already had the way shown. Anyone who has trained in martial arts knows very well the big difference between training alone and training with a training partner or with a master. Alone you can evolve, but with help and instruction, everything is much easier. With all that I've already said, I think you can understand that it's completely consistent for Cooler to evolve much faster than Frieza did, right? Now I'm going to go into more detail about this, talking specifically about Vegeta versus Cooler's fight, showing the indicative of the character's power stages, comparing him to Vegeta. In Chapter 9, it became evident to us that Cooler in his base form was strong enough for Vegeta in Super Saiyan 2, barely withstand a blow from him. Even blocking that blow, that is, even Vegeta defending Cooler's attack, he was badly injured by the pressure of the blow. And to be able to understand Cooler's attacks or keep up with his speed, Vegeta needed to use the Super Saiyan God. Fighting in God form, Vegeta managed to give Cooler a good fight, and they seem to have an approximate power level at this point, with Vegeta being able to hit attacks and Cooler as well. But taking a good look at this entire moment of the fight, I get the impression that Cooler was still a little more powerful than Vegeta. Really not much, as they both managed to maintain the upper hand for a brief moment. At one point, using a tactic to outmaneuver Cooler, Vegeta quickly switched between God and Blue form. He did this suddenly in a tactic to gain speed, just a bit before colliding his body with Cooler and dodging the enemy to counterattack. And that almost worked, as according to Cooler a few seconds later, the Gallic gun launched by Vegeta would have ripped him to pieces if at the last moment he didn't use his final transformation to boost his own powers and defend himself. So we can conclude that Cooler in his base form had a power level similar or maybe a little higher than the power of Super Saiyan God Vegeta. And if you think about it, that's not so incoherent, as Frieza during the events of Resurrection F, using his base form, had a power similar to that of Super Saiyan God Goku. as they had a balanced fight at that point. Many of you may be saying right now, but Max, are you crazy? Goku didn't use the Super Saiyan God against Frieza. He fought in base form. No guys, at that moment Goku was using a power called Beyonder God. Explaining this power very quickly, Goku became able to use the Super Saiyan God's power in base form without transforming. If you want to know more about this Beyonder God form, head over to our website. There's an entire article talking about it in detail. But anyway, Frieza in base form was just as strong as Super Saiyan God Goku during the events of Resurrection F. Just like here in Dragon Ball Hakai, Cooler in base form was just as strong as Super Saiyan God Vegeta. And at that moment you can say, but Max, Vegeta Super Saiyan God after Moro arc is much stronger than Goku Super Saiyan God during Resurrection F. And it's true guys, but do you remember everything I said about the evolution of Cooler is much higher than Frieza's evolution? So things are balanced if you think about it. Well, after Vegeta nearly killed him using Super Saiyan Blue, Cooler used his ultimate form. As we can see in Chapter 10, using that form, Cooler could fight Vegeta Blue form with some advantage. It wasn't such an absurd advantage, but it was clear that he was reasonably more powerful. At this point, Vegeta used a tactic similar to the first one, going from ordinary Super Saiyan Blue to evolved Super Saiyan Blue at the same time. He was attacking to suddenly increase his strength and speed and surprise Cooler. But the demon was already waiting for this and tricked Vegeta into landing a more damaging attack on the Saiyan. But Vegeta was already waiting for this move from Cooler and almost completely destroyed him with the Hakai. But the problem is that Cooler also had the golden form, and using that form he was able to escape. About Cooler's final transformation, it's officially very difficult to know how much his base power increases. And in fact, I don't think there are even any official sources about it. What we do know is that in the 5th Dragon Ball Z movie, Cooler was losing to Goku in base form. And when he used this transformation, he was completely superior to base Goku. But when Goku turned into Super Saiyan, he was completely superior to Cooler, using the final form. Anyway, since there's no way to know how much this final form increases Cooler's power, Dragon Ball Hakai felt free to multiply as we thought would be best. But even if there was an official multiplier, it doesn't make so much, as the movie is non-canon. And in the same way that the character was remake in Dragon Ball Hakai, the same thing can be said about this transformation. So there's no inconsistency in that sense, as it is a matter of decision. But moving on, using the golden form with his base form, Cooler was clearly far superior to Vegeta's evolved Super Saiyan Blue, which made the Prince of the Saiyans appeal to the Ultra Ego, which is currently his most powerful form in Dragon Ball Hakai, and also in Dragon Ball Super. It was clear in Chapter 11 and 12 that Vegeta's Ultra Ego is far superior to Cooler's golden form. I guess I don't even need to say much about that, right? But then Cooler finally used his last trick, the ultimate golden form. That is, instead of multiplying the power of the base form when using the golden form, now Cooler is multiplying the power of his ultimate form. For you to understand the difference, let's suppose that the golden form multiplies the user's power by 50 times. I personally think that is the multiplier of this form because his form rivaled the Super Saiyan Blue, and just like the Super Saiyan multiplies the base power by 50 times, Super Saiyan Blue multiplies by 50 times the power of Super Saiyan God. And as I said before, Frieza in base form had a similar power to Goku using the Beyonder God power. And in golden form, he had a power similar to Super Saiyan Blue. So probably golden form multiplies Frieza's base power by so much how much the Super Saiyan Blue multiplies the God form of Goku, that is 50 times. But anyway, let's say that the golden form multiplies the user's powers by 50 times. This means that Golden Cooler had 50 times more power than base Cooler. And now let's suppose that Cooler's ultimate form multiplies his base power by 10 times. That means Cooler's ultimate golden form multiplies his base power by 500 times. Of course, these numbers are theoretical, okay? But I'm just saying this so you can see the difference between one form and another, and why Cooler got so strong when he combined the golden form with the ultimate form. Well, after reaching the ultimate golden form, Cooler clearly became considerably stronger than Vegeta, as we can see in this chapter 13. But as you know, the Ultra Ego is not a transformation that has a fixed power level. In this transformation, Vegeta can increase his power as he fights, as the thirst for battle and for destruction makes him evolve. Because of that, as the fight with Cooler was going on, Vegeta started to evolve. And as we can see at the end of this chapter, they are currently at the same power level. Now it remains to be seen how the fight will go forward. Maybe Vegeta will continue to evolve and surpass Cooler's power to finally win, as Ultra Ego gives him the possibility, while Cooler probably doesn't have another transformation to get stronger. So his tendency now is to maintain the same level of power or weaken from wounds or fatigue or both. On the other hand, maybe Vegeta, instead of evolving more, starts to decay. That's because the Ultra Ego has an evolution limit, which is the limit of Vegeta's body to withstand damage. We saw Vegeta reach that limit in the fight against Granola and also when he fought Gas. So there is a possibility that this will happen in this fight as well. Who will reach the limit first, Vegeta or Cooler? I don't know, but I think in the next chapter we'll find that out, as the two of them are apparently already close to their limit. Okay, now that I've explained everything I had to explain about Cooler's power level in Dragon Ball Hakai, I'm going to respond a little more directly to some of your comments about this whole situation in general. The first comment is from someone saying that it would have been better for Cooler to have his golden form combined with the ultimate form rather than the base form. The funny thing is that this comment was made in this video telling chapter 11 of the story, and in chapter 12 Cooler finally used this transformation. I think the person who commented on this got a nice surprise in the next chapter, huh? Well, we couldn't do a fight where Golden Cooler appears and he doesn't use his final form with the golden form because the design of these combined forms is absolutely amazing. But we didn't want to just use the ultimate form. We wanted him to use the golden base form as well, like Frieza does. That way we were able to put the ultimate golden form in a more exciting situation, and the combat had an extra plot twist. I think everyone is happy in the end, right? Another comment that was made is that Super Saiyan Blue Goku defeated Golden Frieza easily. Whoever commented on this probably wanted to make the case that Vegeta Blue shouldn't have a hard time against Golden Cooler, and so used Goku versus Frieza as an argument. Well, say that Goku Blue defeated Golden Frieza with ease is a big mistake. Anyone who looks closely at their fight will realize that Frieza and Goku fought on the same level, and maybe Frieza even had a bit of an advantage in that fight. The problem was that because Frieza didn't train much in the golden form, he didn't control his power well in that transformation, and because of that, he spent too much energy and ended up losing power very quickly in combat. It was for this reason that Goku managed to get the upper hand after some time of combat, and the same happened to Vegeta after Goku's defeat. In short, Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Golden Frieza, while using their maximum power, were equally powerful. But Frieza lost power faster. So no, Super Saiyan Blue Goku didn't beat Golden Frieza easily. Another comment, now talking directly about Vegeta versus Cooler, is that Vegeta using Super Saiyan Blue evolution should be enough to beat Golden Cooler. Well, if Golden Frieza faced common Super Saiyan Blue on equal terms, or maybe with some advantage, it's not unreasonable to think that Golden Cooler could have a power level equal to or greater than Super Saiyan Blue evolution, as Cooler has a natural power and potential bigger than Frieza. This is an issue that depends on the character's choice of power level. And the choice Dragon Ball Hakai made was for Cooler to be superior in all forms of Super Saiyan Blue. Could it be otherwise? Could, but it was not the choice made. But what can't be said is that this is incoherent, taking into account all the explanations I've already given here about Cooler's power and potential. And if Broly, who never trained seriously in his life, was able to put up a fight against Gogeta, Super Saiyan Blue for a while, it's not so far-fetched for a well-trained Cooler to outrun Vegeta Super Saiyan Blue a little, right? Now, the most curious comment of all, and also the comment that most saddens any content producer. In the comments of the video where I tell Dragon Ball Hakai Chapter 11, someone complains about the fact that Vegeta flew from one planet to another, and that person says that this is horrible writing because Saiyans can't breathe in space, and that almost ruined the entire manga for that person. Guys, I think there's no comment that saddens more than this type of comment. This is very sad for 3 reasons. The first reason is the total lack of knowledge of many fans about the Dragon Ball series. The second is the lack of attention when reading the manga. And the third is the lack of consideration for who is doing the manga. I will explain these 3 points to you. First of all, it's true that Saiyans can't breathe in space. But it's also true that Dragon Ball characters, particularly those that have a high power level, are extremely fast. Seriously guys, Dragon Ball characters are really fast. There are many examples of their speed. A well-known example of Gotenks, who in Dragon Ball Z went around the planet Earth in seconds. This is just one example among many others. And of course, Vegeta, being powerful as he is also incredibly fast. And he's a lot more powerful than Gotenks, by the way. I could do a video just talking about Vegeta's speed, since there's a lot of content in the anime and manga to talk about it. But what you need to know now is that traveling thousands of kilometers in seconds is something very easy for someone like Vegeta, especially if he's using his most powerful transformations. The planet's Quinn geography is being showed for many chapters. Basically, since Chapter 8, we've been seeing this quintet of planets, and it's notorious that these planets are all very close together. For someone like Vegeta, flying from one of those planets to the other is extremely easy considering his speed. I'd venture to say that this scene from Chapter 11, where Vegeta punches Cooler to another planet and then goes after him, took 10 seconds at most. So Vegeta can't hold his breath for 10 seconds or less? So no, there's no inconsistency in this scene, and whoever commented on this either didn't pay attention to everything that has been shown in these last chapters of the manga, or simply just doesn't know much about Dragon Ball. But the worst part of that comment is not that, since it's okay, a fan who doesn't know the concepts of the franchise so well, since it's a big work, and there are always new fans who naturally won't know everything so well. But the problem is that at the end of the comment it says that it almost ruined the whole manga for that person. Let's suppose this scene was really a mistake. Let's suppose it was really incoherent. One wrong scene makes you almost give up on the entire manga. So a single mistake erases everything good in a work? Does that mean we try so hard to bring you the best content possible so that in a single mistake everything gets thrown in the trash? This is really very sad to read. But I know this is just one comment among many. It's an opinion of one person among many others who love Dragon Ball Hakai and enjoy all our work. And it's for you who support us so much that all this is worth it. But I ask you to understand that Dragon Ball Hakai, and not only Dragon Ball Hakai, but all anime and manga are made by human beings. People who have good days and bad days. People who get it right, but also make mistakes. So sooner or later, Dragon Ball Hakai is going to make mistakes. Just like any other manga, anime, movie, and any other production made by human beings. So please don't throw a whole work in the trash for a few mistakes. I'm not just saying this to the person who made this comment, but I'm saying this to all of you to have more understanding with the artists of the works you follow, because they're human too. But okay guys, I think I've said everything I have to say in this video. I know I've gone a long way on this subject, but it's because there's been a lot of comments about it in the last few videos. So I've tried to be as clear as possible for all of you. Thanks to all of you who have followed this video so far, and don't forget to visit our website to read all the chapters of Dragon Ball Hakai, and also learn more about the Dragon Ball franchise in general. And maybe even when this video telling Chapter 13 is posted here on YouTube, Chapter 14 will already be available there on the website, since the process of producing a video takes a while. So when you're done watching this video, head over to our website to see if there are more chapters available, and take a look at other content too, like official Dragon Ball guides, trivia articles, and more. And finally, it's time to go. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget your like and subscribe to the channel as we become 150,000 subscribers. Until next time, bye-bye.